guys in that meeting, and they kind of took the movie camera, and they were panning us and just looking at what we could do, and they kind of did a football style huddle, and the director walked over to me and shook my hand and said, "Welcome to Mortal Kombat. You are going to be Scorpion." So wow. It kind of happened by accident, because when we went there, they told us all the parts had been filmed, and the cast was done. They were just looking for background fighters, which, looking back on it at the time, I'm kind of glad that they did that, because if they said a role was open, I might have been too nervous and maybe not performed at my best. But because I thought I was going out for a background thing, I didn't really care. So I was just doing all kinds of crazy stuff to perform for them.
And when you sort of got the role of, when they announced that you got the role as Scorpion, in terms of Mortal Kombat, I suppose you were just going there to perform as a martial actress. How quickly did you have to learn about the whole sort of Mortal Kombat universe and the whole sort of back character to this character, Scorpion? I know the sort of plot was probably, the storylines were written, but just to give you a sort of a feel of what he was like and how, obviously, how you want to portray him in terms of the fight scenes.
Well, actually, it was very easy, because as you know, at that time, the video game was the #1 video game in the world at that time. So I was very familiar with the game. I was very familiar with the character, because my two favorite characters in the video game were Scorpion and Raiden. I just loved both. I played only those two characters. So I knew when they said Scorpion, I knew all what I was going to do. I had it all planned out in my head, because I was super familiar with the character, and I wanted to keep it as true to the video game as I could. So I kind of had a head start on that aspect of it.
Yeah, I suppose as a mixed martial artist, I suppose most of the scenes that you would have shot in terms of in the past, in terms of movies, or in terms of in your own sort of studios, in terms of showing clips, in terms of mixed martial art, they would have been all very humanized. Now you have a concept where you're in Mortal Kombat, you're mixing the sort of fantasy sci-fi worlds with the human sort of world, because dare I say it is a Scorpion, the character, it is a human with sort of supernatural powers as such. So combining those as a mixed martial artist, was that sort of hard to portray, because you're always feeling like when the Scorpion does his moves, like get over here, and all the sort of chains that come out, the special effects that comes into that, and those sort of shots as well. Are you sort of conscious of that at the time when you're performing your stunts?
A little bit, because when we were filming it at the time, I had no idea what was coming out of my hand, right? They had showed me some mock-ups and some things. They weren't sure if it was going to be a spear or what they actually went with in the movie, which was a creature. So they wanted me to play it both ways to do it. And that's actually where I came up with the move to get set to do that, because they said we need it to take like 3 or 4 seconds. You can't just hold up your hand and do it. So they gave me some freedom of creating a move that would prepare to do that based on the designs that they gave me at the time.
I suppose one of your scenes in Mortal Kombat is classic, the so-called forest scene, where you get into the sort of fight in the forest, and we start to see that sort of one-on-one sort of character. Where my memory is correct now, dating back, I think it was Sonya that you got into the fight with, if I'm correct with, and
Johnny Cage.
Johnny. Apologies. Johnny, you got into the fight with Johnny in the sort of forest. And in terms of that sort of sequence of sort of mixing that animation and the set and the whole surroundings of that, how did that sort of play out as such? Was that all sort of digitalized background?
No, that was real. We were in Thailand. That was a rubber tree plantation that we were shooting in. And it was a real set. And the original fight, the original script, called for the entire fight scene to be done in that forest. But what happened was, as happens with a lot of film crews, there's delays, things happen, bad weather or whatever's going on. So our fight scene got pushed, and then we actually ran out of time. So we only got to shoot the opening sequence of it in that rubber tree plantation. We had to go back to Hollywood, back to LA, and finish the second part of it.
And the whole sort of we know Scorpion, it's all about fire and anger, and in the terms of the special effects, in terms of the fire scenes and the sort of stuff like that, as a stuntsman, you're probably prepared for every sort of aspect. Was there any sequence where you were actually dealing with real live fire?
Yeah, well, the part where they light me on fire at the end, which is it's called a controlled fire burn. They put a special gel on top of your suit to prevent the fire from burning through the suit, but it is very, very dangerous. And that actually wasn't me. It was another stunt guy who specializes in fire burns. And I wanted to do it. I thought it'd be cool to try. And they let me do the majority of all the other stunts that Scorpion did in the film, but they didn't want to take a chance of me accidentally getting hurt because we still had more things to film when we were doing that. But it was a guy by the name of Jeff Imada did the actual fire burn as Scorpion. And he's a like a world-renowned stuntman. He's worked on hundreds and hundreds of films. So he actually got to do that. There's always an element of danger, especially when you're doing fight scenes, right? Something can go wrong. If one of the actors doesn't throw the punch right or not remember their sequence of moves, then things can go sideways pretty quick. And then the other thing that was challenging for me was the contacts that they had me wear in the film. I couldn't see out of them. And they wanted that to have that kind of reptile look, that Scorpion soul-possessed look. So it wasn't just a contact lens. It was a contact that covered my entire eye from top to bottom, where most like a normal contact lens just covers your pupil. This thing covered my whole eyeball, and it was like being in London in the biggest fog storm you could ever be in. So I could barely see 3 or 4 feet in front of me. So everything kind of happened really fast, and that made it challenging. The other thing is we actually shot that fight scene up on a platform. Like that wasn't a CGI, that wasn't a background, that was a real, we shot that inside of an airplane hangar in LA, in Santa Monica, and we were 20 feet up in the air doing that entire fight scene. So you had a real 20-foot drop on either side of that platform.
Yeah, and I suppose, Chris, in terms of Mortal Kombat, I suppose the first film takes all the proclaim and the glory in terms of the second one, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I suppose there's such a strenuous sort of Mortal Kombat diehard sort of following throughout the world. Even to this day, you just see all the forums and social media and the amount of numbers. And I suppose it's growing and growing at a phenomenal rate even today now. But in terms of the second movie, I suppose what angered an awful lot of people, I suppose, was the killing of Johnny Cage at the start. And I know that was down to Lyndon Asby not being able, parts weren't right or circumstances weren't right for him to be involved in the second movie. And I suppose your first movie in terms of Mortal Kombat, it was sort of set in terms of the tournament atmosphere. Do you think maybe, and it sort of gave a sort of realism maybe towards it, do you think maybe in the Annihilation when they went off-world and the out-world sort of thing, it became too alienized, and maybe the hero getting killed from the start maybe sort of distance an awful lot of those sort of fans away from it?
Yeah, possibly. Listen, there was a lot, the first Mortal Kombat was a perfect storm of everything happening right. And the second one was the perfect storm of a lot of things going wrong. And they were just trying to make the best of it. Lyndon wasn't available to do the part. I also wasn't available. I was the first person cast and hired for Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That was me. But I had booked, I was
just about to ask you.
Yeah, I had just gotten the job for Batman. So I had an opportunity to do Batman, and the shoot schedules were separated. But again, like I said earlier, things happen in Hollywood. And so it came down to where the schedule for one of the movies got moved, and I had to choose between doing Mortal Kombat or working on Batman. And to be able to wear the bat suit, to be able to be Batman and work on a $100 million film project was, I couldn't pass that opportunity up. And I talked to Larry, the producer of Mortal Kombat, and he's like, no, I get it. Totally, go do the Batman thing. It's good. So Scorpion had a much, much bigger part in the second movie, and I thank Larry for this because I wasn't there. They just made it quick. They did a thing. He gets killed real quick. And then same thing with Lyndon. So because the fight, we had some really, really cool fight scenes planned for Scorpion in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, but unfortunately the scheduling didn't work out. So that part of it is it is, but we got to do the TV show afterwards, the Mortal Kombat Conquest TV series. So I was fortunate to be part of that. They did a web animated series that I was able to be part of. So It's been a good run. I've had a really, really good run with this Mortal Kombat franchise.
And Chris, I suppose I spoke to Keith Cook, and he told me in terms of his fight scene with Robin Shaw, who played Liu Kang, that it was roughly they had 6 or 7 days to work on it in terms of all the angles that needed to be done and the choreography. Your sort of iconic sort of fight scenes with Lyndon Ashby in the first scene. How long did that take? Was it 2-3 days filming? I suppose there was probably so many sort of shots and clips and different angles and camera angles, and as a martial actors, how many times did you have to redo the same sort of fight scenes, or breaking down, I suppose, bits of Scorpion's moves from punches to kicks to fire throws, all that sort of aspect?
So the fight scene that Lyndon and I did took 1 month to complete. Beginning, we spent a month. We spent 2 weeks alone just up on that platform. Doing the fights. When we were in Thailand in the rubber tree plantation, we were already rehearsing the fight. So we had spent 2-3 weeks rehearsing the moves over and over again, because we wanted that fight to really be a big fight between those two characters. So we spent a lot of time on it, and we did have to shoot it a lot of times, but not because either one of us messed up. And Lyndon, to his credit, was so great and so dedicated to making this fight be good that he was learning martial arts while we were going. Matter of fact, after we got done filming, he actually became my student for a year afterwards. I trained him in martial arts so he could get better and better and better. But that's, like I said, we spent a long time doing it. So and they shoot it from every angle. So you shoot it this way, and then they move the camera and they put the camera over here, shoot it this way, put the camera over here, they shoot it this way. So that way they can cut between the action. So you're doing the same fight scene over and over, but you're doing it multiple times so they can get different angles on it.
I suppose, Chris, the reason why we're talking to you, it's very relevant because Mortal Kombat is in the limelight again, I suppose, with the announcement of the release of the new movie that's coming out in January in 2021. And I suppose for Mortal Kombat to be in the limelight and to show that it's going strong, maybe 20 years, it shows that the franchise is not dying, it's growing, and the appetite is there for more movies. I suppose it brings up opportunities for you maybe in the long run of sort of guest cameo roles, or is that some, as Keith Cook said, sign me up today for a guest cameo role? Would Chris, would you be on the same limelight?
Yeah, 100%. Listen, my agent was trying to make that happen in the film. I know Keith wanted to be part of it. It would do justice to have some type of cameo in there. They are rebooting the franchise. I don't know what direction they're going in. I do hope that it's good. I would love to be a part of it moving forward. If there's that opportunity, it'd be great. But at this point, I don't know what they're doing. I do know that the fans can dictate what happens, because the fan support of Mortal Kombat is one of the things that kept it going. Even the video games that are out now on PlayStation and on Xbox, they are one of the highest selling video games still. Time. It's because the fan support has done it. So all your fans that are listening to or watching this show, you can tell Warner Brothers, get Scorpion a cameo in there, and they will listen to you. They may not listen to me, but they'll listen to your fans.
Yeah, and I suppose, Chris, one thing before I let you go, I spoke to Keith, and he told me in terms of the actual being involved in Mortal Kombat there on the days in studio, even though it was hard work, it was probably the most enjoyable fun he ever had in terms of his acting sort of career, because it almost felt that sort of the sort of fantasy world where we all have these sort of dreams of fighting aliens. And I suppose a mixed martial artist, I suppose you're fighting a person and it's sort of thing, but this, you can delve into the fantasy world. And but that's something you really enjoyed as well, that sort of being able to relive a sort of fantasy vision that for a mixed martial artist like yourselves that's world renowned, that possibly it wouldn't come, it's a rare thing that this opportunity mightn't come at your doorstep any day of the week. And I suppose in your career since, has an opportunity ever, anything resembled Mortal Kombat ever come to your doorstep?
Well, yeah. Listen, I've had a great career. I've got 2 film projects that are coming up that are also supposed to start in January of 2021. I'm going to get the opportunity to work with one of the Power Rangers, and who's also one of my students, Jason David Frank, in a film called Legend of the White Dragon. I've got the original producers of Mortal Kombat are putting together another franchise that I'm going to be a part of. So I've got a lot of cool things coming up. But listen, Mortal Kombat is the thing that put me on the map and made people aware of who I am and what I can do. And for that and the fan support, I am eternally grateful. Listen, not a lot of people can say they got to play Scorpion, and definitely not a lot of people can say they got to wear the Batsuit. Like, I'm probably one of 12 or 15 people on the planet that's ever put that thing on. So it's been great. My experiences on set, you know, sometimes you'll talk to actors and they'll be like, oh, this set was horrible and this crew was terrible. I'm going to knock on wood. I've been very blessed that all the sets and movies I've been on have been great, and it's been a ton of fun. I mean, you get to play a video game character. I mean, come on, how cool is that?
Chris, on that note, a pleasure talking to you this evening as we look back and I suppose look forward is the right word in terms of Mortal Kombat going well into the 21st century. Even COVID-19 can't seem to stop its progress. And I suppose, Chris, an absolute pleasure reliving your thoughts and memories about the Scorpion character. No doubt, if there is a cameo role, you'll be the first one they'll ring up. And pleasure talking to you, Chris, and hopefully you seem to be a busy man with lots of opportunities on the horizon, and please